The championship round is over and the Super Bowl teams have been selected, and unless you've been living under a rock, you know that it'll be the Carolina Panthers taking on the Denver Broncos in Santa Clara for Super Bowl 50. Can Denver seal the deal, or will they be bucked to the curb like they were in 2014? Time will tell, but one thing is certain. Peyton Manning may never play a snap in the NFL again, so he's likely doing everything he can to pull a Ray Lewis and win the big one in his final professional season. And Cam Newton, after winning the division in 2013, 14, and 15, can the Panthers finally cap off a successful season with the Lombardi Trophy? We're going to preview the game and get into the coaching changes around the league, so don't go away. It's the Hog Style.
It's the Hog Style.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hog Style. Big show for you tonight. My name is Sean Conti. I am joined by Alex Zeese.
I'm wearing the same pajamas I've been wearing for 3 days.
That's my man. So are we all. Yeah, we got to talk about that for a second. Steve Thomas is also here, but he is not snowed in.
Yeah, I'm not snowed in, and I'm fairly disgusted that you've been wearing the same clothes for 3 days, I must say.
Steve, and a quick aside before we start the show, Steve, if you were witnessing this ridiculous snow that we're dealing with, you would understand the pajamas thing.
I've been through two of the top 10 biggest snowstorms in DC history, so I do understand.
Yeah, I mean,
I got buried in the 96 storm, and I got buried in the 83 storm.
Yeah, see, those were huge storms, and this one's big too, but I will say...
I was conceived in the 83 storm.
That's
see those cold winter nights. I mean, I'll just say this about anybody who's in the area and dealing with the storm. It's not the biggest storm that we've had in D.C., but it's certainly, at least where I am in Silver Spring, it took them forever to clean out. I mean, it seems like everything's lagging behind. But anyways.
I feel like I was at Redskins Park because, there were just snow drifts all over the place. I'm on top of a hill, so there was at least 35, 36 inches outside my door.
Yeah.
After the storm was over.
Just insane.
The weather where I am dipped down into the low 50s, I think, over the weekend. It was fairly distressing. The wind was blowing quite a bit.
My in-laws live about an hour from Steve, and they were at a barbecue this weekend.
Yeah.
So
I did not wear shorts, which bummed me out.
No. Everyone was wearing long sleeves, so I don't know what you're doing at a barbecue in long sleeves. That just seems eerie.
See, but people hear barbecue and,
yeah, I know.
12 months a year. It's not really my thing personally, but I'm not from here, so.
I do miss the South. Went to college down there. That is one thing I definitely
I'll tell
miss.
you what, I don't miss going shoveling snow like you guys are doing, though. I've done a lot of it, and I don't want to do it again.
It's a good source of exercise, but what a pain it is.
Probably a good source of heart attacks would be my guess.
I think we had something just around 20 people died in the area.
20?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Something like that, yeah.
Holy shit. Shovel slowly, people. Go out every time there's 3 inches. Don't kill yourself.
I think it would help if they listen to the Hog Style podcast while they're doing it. It would help pace them.
That's right. Amen. I like that.
There you go.
All right, well, guys, let's talk about some football because, holy crap, the Super Bowl teams have been selected. The championship round is over, and we bid adieu to 2 great teams. Sad to see them go, but I think we're shaping up to have an interesting Super Bowl. So maybe we should talk about the results of these games, and I don't know if you guys disagree, but I would say maybe start Broncos-Pats because that was the first one.
Okay, well, I will start with Broncos-Pats, and I'm not sad to see the Patriots go because I'm just sick and tired of them. I'm glad another team's going to win, but I'd like to point out that what we said was the key to that game actually came through. We just didn't give it enough credit. What we told you guys is that the Broncos' ability to hit Tom Brady over and over and over again was how to beat him. And what we all thought, which was wrong, is that Bill Belichick would overcome that. Somehow he didn't. But what we saw in the game is every time Brady got hit, he got flustered. The ball started being inaccurate. He got frustrated. The one good drive they had at the very end of the game was the one where they didn't get to him. Or the 2 drives at the end of the game they didn't really get to him, and magically he started recovering because he's a great quarterback.
Right.
That is the recipe for beating him. You have to get a lot of pressure on Tom Brady without blitzing linebackers, that are normally dropping into coverage. I mean, Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware are pass rushers. They're not going to drop into coverage. So you can't blitz 8. You got to blitz 4 and get there. That's the key.
Yeah.
It was just a great game to watch. If you love defense, it was, one of the better games you probably saw this year.
If you love defense, definitely.
And At the same time, you've got these two veteran, arguably two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, duking it out. And let's be honest, Manning's clearly past his prime right now.
Oh my God, we got to talk
Brady's
about
probably
No doubt about
coming
it.
to the beginning of what Manning's going through.
Yeah.
I mean, just from a numbers standpoint, he's that age where it's going to start going downhill for him sooner
Did you
rather
say
than later.
Manning? You meant Brady, right? You said
Yeah,
Brady's
well,
past
I
your
said
prime?
Brady's probably going to come to that point sooner
Oh,
rather than later.
okay. I misheard you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, if you're talking about being gassed and just being, I mean, I hate to pile on the guy, but look, Peyton, by the end of that game, he looked in pain.
Mm-hmm.
He was really grimacing while he was taking some warm-up throws on the sideline. I think when that
He was
defensive play,
grimacing just sitting there.
just
He had a
sitting there,
look-
right?
He had a look on his face, and I know this because as the game was going on, I was getting closer and closer to the TV. The point where I was probably about a foot away from the entire TV. When that 2-point conversion attempt was going on,
Yeah.
they cut to Peyton Manning's face.
Yeah.
And he had this look on his face that said, "I don't know if I can go into overtime."
Yep.
Well, you guys
he
are
was
missing
so
the
relieved.
point, though. They won. That's all that matters.
They did win.
They won.
They
He
won,
did enough
but-
to win. He didn't make the mistakes that
Mm-hmm.
that Brady made. Peyton got hit a lot too in that game.
Peyton
Oh,
had
they
some-
both got beaten.
Peyton
Yeah.
had some pretty bad throws, though. Even towards
they
the end of
did.
that
The
game,
balls
he's
were
missing
fluttering
dudes in
and
the
all
end
that.
zone.
Yeah, it wasn't as great his best game, but
He was hot early though, and he put together a good first half.
honestly,
Yeah.
I think his injury probably helped him at the end of the day because I don't think you'd see Peyton do as well as he did on Sunday if he had to play 16 games. Because that's his history in in the past even 5 or 6 years. He gets gassed by the end of the year. You throw all the
Yeah.
bad weather in there, pretty soon he's ineffective. He was more. You do see he did at least 2 naked bootlegs. If y'all caught that, which is just
Yeah.
incredible that a statue like Peyton Manning's going to do bootlegs.
He
I
ran
think
for
that
first
really
down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that really threw the Patriots defense out of whack to see Frankenstein out there running.
Right.
There was a moment in that game, and it wasn't the whole, duration, but there was a while where I think both Brady and Manning both had the longest runs for each of their respective teams.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
And
sad.
yeah, I mean, so that just kind of tells you what kind of game it was, and neither of them blew you away numbers wise.
No.
The only hot stat is Manning's 2 touchdowns. Other than that, it was a very pedestrian night for both
It was
of
a
them.
defensive
Yeah.
game. It really was
Yeah.
the classic defensive game. It was like a pitcher's duel, if you want to make a baseball analogy, I guess. Because I think the star of the game most clearly was the Denver Broncos pass rush. I mean, Von Miller was a monster. He had,
Yeah.
2 sacks, at least 3 sacks maybe by
Yeah.
himself. He had that interception.
But did he have a better
He
game
was
than
all-
Ware, though? It seemed like
Both
every
of
play
them.
Ware was blasting back.
Yeah.
Where put Brady on the ground about 8 times.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
and
just
both of
crazy.
them were all over the place. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about it. And so I think those 2 guys saved the Denver Broncos season, without a
Yeah.
doubt.
And the turnovers didn't help.
Well, I would like to
the
also like to
Patriots.
say that I think the Patriots had as limited an offense this year as they've had in many years.
Yeah.
They've never had a great running game. They've never had Adrian Peterson or
Didn't
pick
they have one
somebody-
year where they had a running back who blew up and then they got rid of him?
it was. He went to Cincy after that.
Right.
Oh gosh, the name
it
just
was.
escaped me. But that
It's
was
not that
early.
Jonas Gray dude who had one great game, is
no.
it?
No. It'll come.
He
to
had
me in a
one
minute.
game. Yeah.
No.
But in the early days, of Tom Brady's career, he was throwing for like 160 yards, and they really were truly a running team. It's just evolved, and I think honestly, Bill Belichick's would do himself a favor by drafting, I don't know, an Ezekiel Elliott type of guy, and he won't be available
Yeah.
for him probably at 30 or whatever he's drafting at. Well, they don't have first round pick; he won't be available at all. But
Well,
Yeah. They
certainly-
don't draft till pick number 60.
60 or whatever, yeah.
Ouch. Well, certainly that one-dimensionalness, the lack of running game, played into Denver's ability to just completely have their way with the Patriots because when he wasn't getting sacked, he was getting pressured, and I think you could tell, particularly towards the end of the game, he was just gunning balls to the ground. I mean, he fired a laser that was like a foot off the ground, just clearly out of frustration, it looked like. I think he was really upset that they couldn't get anything else going.
Well, and in their defense, they had massive injuries in the running game this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Deion Lewis Lewis went down early. The Garrett Blunt went down. He had a great game against the Redskins, if we all painfully remember that. And there's just a limit to the number of people you can have go down and still be effective. And I think they kind of hit it, because they had Gronk. Gronk wasn't healthy,
Nope.
yesterday.
Edelman wasn't healthy for a long
Edelman
time.
wasn't healthy.
Gronk had, 2 really big plays, though, in the game. I know they showed a chart, and he had a couple different catches. By the way, I'm loving how they're tracking receptions more and more now in the NFL, game day, where they show the entire route being run, where he caught it, and then where he runs after that. And it really evolves how you think about, route trees these days.
And I think that's something that the average viewer doesn't really have much of an appreciation for.
No.
In fact, I think the average viewer of football doesn't even realize that they're throwing into spots where guys are yet. They're not just throwing to open people,
Part of it is the camera angles that they use on the standard shot. You
can't see
really
shit.
see. No, you can't.
Yeah.
No.
I'd actually probably rather watch a game on the All-22 than I would anything else. It'd probably be more instructive.
Well, I've for a long time said that they need to accept that Madden gets it right, the video game, and I know Steve hates video games, but Madden, the angle where you're behind the quarterback and that's how you see the field, that's how it should always be.
Behind the quarterback and above him, so you can see the progressions as people are running them forward. That would be ideal. I don't know why they don't do that.
Well, it's because they can really zoom in with the offensive defensive line shots. You can catch faces. It's better
for cutaways.
for television.
You can still maintain that for cutaways. That's
but it's better for football geeks like us. It's not better for the average viewer who's not so into the strategy and the tactics and the plays and the routes. And there's a group of people out there who are never going to listen to the Hogstye podcast who just are interested in just kind of casually watching a game. The angle they have is better for them.
Plus, if you could see the whole play, then there'd be absolutely no reason to listen to Phil Simms. So
there's no reason to listen to him anyway.
That's what I was hoping for in a response.
Well,
that's what I was going for.
If you want to take a nap, it's great.
Yeah, put you right to sleep.
But anyways, he alternatively refuses to say Redskins when he feels like it, if I recall. Yeah.
Right. Put those dudes on mute. Give me a break. But anyways, let's talk more about the game, particularly. So Brady ended up with 2 interceptions on the day, right?
Yep.
Was that his final stat line? But even with all of this turnovers from the Patriots, inability to run the ball, they still continue to have shots towards the end of the game. They had 5 last chances. Because Broncos offense go out there, they go 3 and out, only 20 seconds come off the clock. Then suddenly the Patriots have the ball again with a minute, 2 minutes on the board. They kept somehow being in position where they could have won the game. They squandered many chances.
It was really awful clock management, but at the end of the game by the Broncos, I thought. The drive that was right before the 2-minute warning, which took about 30 seconds off the clock. They basically ran the ball 3 times, knowing that the Patriots are going to call timeout each time.
Which they did.
They really needed to go for a first down on a pass.
Did they run 3 times or did they run twice and then pass? I thought it was run, pass.
It might have been run, pass unsuccessful.
I agree. You go for the pass almost first down just to see if you can trick them.
Yeah, and I'll take your word for it, Alex, if one of them was passed. But regardless,
I don't remember exactly.
Regardless,
it wouldn't
was
make
poor
sense
clock
not
management. It was very poor clock management, I thought.
Yeah, well, I mean, it certainly came back to bite him because, like I said, they kept giving Tom Brady the ball back with too much time on the clock and nearly lost the game there. It came down to the final play.
Tom Brady might be the greatest quarterback ever. He's not just going to roll down and die in an AFC Championship game.
Keep the ball out of that dude's hands.
Yeah.
That's
and
what you have to do.
Ready for his stat line? It's just incredible. He passed the ball 56 times. That is incredible. He was 27 of 56, and they only had 17 carries.
I know pro athletes are freaks of nature, but how's your arm not just about to fall off after 56 pass attempts?
Well, he probably has to ice it. It's less than what a pitcher does, a starting pitcher.
Yeah, but isn't the motions are very different too?
Starting pitching is a lot more strenuous on your arm, on your shoulder, and on your elbow than
true.
Quarterbacking. A lot more.
I think
you don't get Tommy John's passing a football.
No. His shady personal trainer dude probably sprinkles some magic fairy dust on his shoulder and fixes it just like that.
I think that's Peyton that
Not
may have
FDA
the shady.
Approved.
That may be Peyton that has the shady.
Yeah.
And just injecting human growth hormone into his neck.
I mean, I would really hate it. But I do start to get the feeling that in 10 years we're going to see this as the steroids era was in baseball, with all these guys taking HGH.
But remember,
Well,
it
didn't
was
he-
Peyton's wife, not Peyton. It's his wife. That was the story,
Right.
the official explanation. Like his wife is some kind of pro athlete and needed HGH.
Yeah.
Believe that. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's true.
His
I
wife
swear.
likes to pump iron.
Yeah, seriously.
Unless she's like a fitness model or a bodybuilder or a professional basketball player or something, let's just assume it really wasn't for his wife.
When I heard him say that quote about it being for his wife, I just imagined this woman with like hairy arms and like giant calf muscles and stuff. Like, oh god, dude, I hope your wife's not taking that.
How's it going?
Yeah, or like the scene in what is it? Oh
It's
god,
Starla from Napoleon Dynamite. That's who his wife is.
I'm thinking of the what? Oh my god, the Dodgeball movie when they play the Girl Scouts and the Girl Scouts
Oh,
get
yeah.
they get kicked out because they're taking HGH.
Well, it's an interesting dynamic, to be honest, that what happened, because it really smacks of Roger Clemens, right? Because this
It
was Roger
does.
Clemens' exact excuse. He said his wife was the one that got it, but nobody likes Roger Clemens. He was a mean guy. Everybody in baseball hated him, and so everybody jumped on him. Peyton Manning says literally practically the exact same thing, and everybody just ignored it. He said, okay, fine. Well, that's the end of the story. And, yeah, I think the guy kind of, that Al Jazeera America interviewed backtracked on it a little bit. But, I think if it had been a player who was less liked than Peyton Manning, I think the story would not have died. But nobody wants to believe that. And I don't listen, just to be clear, so we don't get sued. We have no idea if Peyton did anything. We're just talking about the Al Jazeera report, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think
disclaimer.
you're making a totally salient point. Some people are so iconic and so beloved that people will lie to themselves. Even when evidence stares them in the face. I'm not saying it's true, but with a guy that it's equally ambiguous, people would be a lot more likely to condemn that person.
We
If Bill
could tie this
Romanowski had
into-
come out, if this, with this story, I think all of us would agree that Bill did it.
Right.
Sure.
Right. So I agree
mean-
with you completely.
I don't want to get us too much more sidetracked than we already are, but to tie in your point, Sean, there was a story that Steinberg wrote today about Darryl Green's attitude when Schottenheimer was head coach, to talk about a guy who's kind of sainted in this town, and you read something negative about it. The reaction from the fan base on that story is a lot of, you can't talk bad about Darryl Green like
Right.
that.
But at the same time, there's
You
been
know?
a lot of rumors here and there, under the scenes and, kind of under the radar that at times Darryl has not been quite as nice a person as his public persona is. And I've never met him. I don't know if you guys have ever met him. Have no
No,
idea
but,
whether that's
I mean,
true or
those
not. But
rumors
that
have
has
been
always
there
been the
for a
rumor.
while, yeah.
It's always been the rumor.
I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it doesn't make him a less great player.
No, not at
in
all.
my mind. Those are two different issues.
Right.
So
Well, I mean, this is a bad example because it's an extreme behavior, but look at O.J. Simpson. You
Yeah.
guys are probably, I mean, I know, Sean, you're too young to remember, but Alex, you might, but he was beloved in the 80s and 90s. He had this big smile, 1,000-watt smile. He was in movies, and it turns out, obviously, even if, he was acquitted of the murder, but he's a scummy person,
Right.
Well,
he's in prison
and-
because of it, and he wasn't nearly what his public persona indicated. And I think a lot of athletes are probably, like all people, are like that. They're flawed.
well, and my family has a lot of connections in Buffalo, and both my parents went to school there during OJ's era. My mom apparently met O.J. Simpson a bunch of times, and she's like, he was the nicest guy. She was
I
shocked when
met
all that
OJ.
happened.
He was very nice. I met him once. He was nice.
Yeah. She said he was one of the friendliest people she ever, pro athletes at least. that she ever
Nicest
met.
guy ever. I don't know why he wore such small gloves, but nicest guy ever.
Can we get back to the game? I've really
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, and I have one more thing I want to talk to you about the game to kind of tie it into the Redskins a little bit.
Yeah.
Since we are a Redskins podcast, and
That we are.
it's a struggle to
Theoretic-
do this at times.
Theoretically,
Technically,
yeah.
we are. Yeah.
in theory. But there's been a lot of talk these days about, or on social media and stuff about how, why didn't we hire? Am I forgetting his name? The defensive coordinator.
Who's defensive coordinator?
Denver's. His son's our tight ends coach.
Are you talking about Wade Phillips?
Yeah, Wade Phillips. There's been a lot of talk by Redskins fans. Oh, we should have hired Wade Phillips as our defensive coordinator.
Well, he was in the running for it. I thought we
Yeah.
couldn't seal the deal with him.
Well, but his son works here, so there was a lot of tie-ins and all that.
You know what? I don't think we really know what the real story was.
Yeah.
I don't know if we couldn't close the deal, or Jay Gruden just wanted a younger guy. Maybe Scott McGlynn liked Barry better. I
You
think
can tell
most-
Wade
here's
is a
what I-
lot lower energy than Joe Barry is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think here's what I think we can conclude safely is that Wade Phillips has a much, much, much better resume than Joe Barry has or
sure.
will ever have. But I think coaching also has to. There's an intangible thing between the coaches. They have to like each other. They have to get along. There has to be the certain chemistry. I don't think our defense was great this year by any means. It's just statistically it was pretty bad. But I think it was an improved unit overall.
Undoubtedly.
Than from last year. And you got to give Joe Barry some credit for that. And
Undoubtedly.
And I would say also just this is probably obvious, but even if Wade Phillips was our defensive coordinator, it's not like we'd have the number one defense all of a sudden.
No,
Correct.
but would it be better than it was? I don't know.
Oh,
maybe,
sure.
But
Probably.
he was not going to turn
know.
this unit into the Denver defense.
No.
By any
Right.
stretch.
We don't have
we don't
DeMarcus
have Von
Ware
Miller
and Von
yeah.
Miller.
Yeah, there's
Or
a lot
any
of there's
those
a
guys.
big talent discrepancy between
T.J.
these two
Ward.
teams.
We don't have T.J. Ward in the backfield.
No.
The safety.
Well,
at all. No.
Right. And that's actually a perfect place to seg back to the game and also to the next game. I just want to say this about Denver Patriots to kind of sum up, and you guys can give your concluding thoughts too, but I don't want to say the worst team won in this. I don't want to come out and say that. I think certainly the worst offense won between these two teams. What I find unfortunate about that is I am afraid we're gearing up for a repeat Super Bowl. The last time the Broncos did this, they're going to sneak in this time. I think they're a worse team than they were back then in 2013 Super Bowl or 2014 Super Bowl?
2013 season, 2014
2
Super
years
Bowl.
ago. 2 Super
Right.
Bowls ago.
And I'm just afraid that, I feel like the Panthers are just going to go out there and they're going to demolish the Broncos. So that's my concern is that this set up
Hey,
for a worse
listen, we
game.
thought the Patriots were going to demolish the Broncos too.
Yeah.
So
But we also pointed out that historically Tom Brady, for some reason, whatever it is, he doesn't play well at Denver. For some reason, statistically.
Yeah,
I don't think
that's out
anybody
there.
plays particularly well at Denver. I mean, who's going to play well at 5,000 feet?
Well, but
Yeah.
he's Tom Brady and he's 2-6 there. It's like, and the only guys he beat were Tim Tebow and some dude I can't even remember the name of. So
Matt
it's
Castle.
weird.
I think it was Matt Castle, wasn't it?
I see.
been.
I know Matt Castle. It's someone even more obscure than Matt Castle. I promise.
That's pretty obscure as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about you're saying you think Denver's worse this year than they were in 2014. I think their offense is clearly not as good as it was.
Yeah.
They don't have the running game.
Yeah.
They don't have the passing game they had then.
Exactly.
When Manning was healthier. But I don't think you could say that about this defense. This
No,
defense
you
they
can't.
have
Defense
is
is better.
this. I mean, I don't know if they're statistically there. It's probably the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, statistically, it was the number one defense in the NFL.
During the
and
regular
listen,
season,
it's,
yeah.
during the regular season. Listen, it's a 3-phase game. I think what you said is accurate, Alex. I think their offense isn't as potent. Peyton is 2 years older. However, he's also more rested now than he was in that Super Bowl 2 years ago. 'Cause
Yeah,
he didn't play.
that's true.
18 straight games. He's only played 10 games. I don't know what the number is.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
but
not a
let's
lot.
say it's 10. Half the games.
Yeah.
But the big difference on the offense clearly is the running game. The running game just for whatever reason hasn't been the same as it was 2 years ago.
Right.
But I mean, and they're facing a tremendous defense. Carolina's defense is just, incredible. Now, Thomas Davis apparently had surgery today for a broken arm. So
Yeah,
says
and
he'll
he's
play.
saying he
whether or
wants to
not-
play, which is insane.
Right.
Well, yeah, all football players are insane, I guess. I don't think you'd
In that
find any
respect,
sane
yes.
person playing an NFL game with a broken arm, unless it was, the Super Bowl, I guess. But
Yeah.
anyway, my concluding thoughts on Denver. I hear what you're saying, but at the end of the day, the Denver was a better team yesterday, and that's what matters. Peyton wasn't spectacular, but he was good enough. He didn't make huge mistakes. I think Peyton intentionally played to not make mistakes. In terms of interceptions, he was pretty
Right.
conservative with his balls. He missed 3 touchdown passes, I think.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
The one in the end zone to the wide receiver, the one that was on about the 2-yard line to the tight end that he missed the read on, and there was
Yeah.
one more.
And that's the thing. They were his fault.
Oh yeah, they were
Well,
just bad passes. They
Throughout
were-
the game, even in the first half when he was more, on, let's just say that, It seems to me like he doesn't have the accuracy he used to. A lot of those passes, it seems like his receivers are just making great acrobatic moves to get to the ball. Like, you think of that 35-yard, I think it was really the only deep ball he threw all game. It was way behind the receiver, but he jumped up over the defender and caught it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about this, because it's not that his accuracy is going so much, because that's just kind of a hand-eye coordination thing. Part of it is his legs. And his legs are old.
Yeah.
His legs, he's almost as old as I am, I'm 43, and I know my legs aren't not that I'm remotely that athletic, but you lose it at a certain point.
You don't think you could huff it for 10 yards?
Yeah, well, I think I could do that. I could definitely do that. But my point is, an elite NFL quarterback like that, when you lose your legs, it throws your whole motion off.
Yeah,
I don't
footwork.
think he's adjusted to that. It throws his footwork off. But throwing a football isn't just upper body thing. It's a whole motion.
Full body.
And
Yeah.
I think it just throws. I just think he's not the same.
He doesn't
as
have
a
the
result.
legs he used to. There were stories at the beginning of the season that he didn't have any feeling in a bunch of his fingers anymore.
That's not a recipe for success in the Super Bowl, guys.
No, this is not. Those are not things you want in a quarterback.
Yeah. I'm sorry you can't ride Brock Osweiler to the Super Bowl anymore, Peyton. Wow, what a sentence that is.
Well,
Just think about that.
Again, I mean, you guys are not giving him enough credit. He did what he had to do to win.
No, I'm being totally
back to that.
silly.
Yeah,
And he had a
I
better
think we're
quarterback
just
rating than
busting,
Tom Brady.
No,
I get what you're saying, but winning matters. It's all that matters. He didn't make mistakes. He didn't throw 2 interceptions. He threw 2 touchdown passes, and Tom Brady didn't. And it's
You're right.
the story,
You're right. And now he's playing for the big game in his probably what is going to be his final year as a professional football player. I mean, that is
Very
huge. If he
likely.
can go out on top, that is a major stamp on your legacy that you want.
Yeah. He'll just have to retire and be a head coach or something right away.
Poor guy.
Peyton is not going to be a head coach.
No, I know. My prediction is that he replaces the rapidly aging Terry Bradshaw on Fox.
He could, or somebody like you think specifically Bradshaw.
Well, you don't want 2 quarterbacks on one opening show, so
that's your official prediction. Bradshaw's going to leave.
I think so.
Okay.
I'm surprised you guys count him out for a coaching job. I mean, I totally hear where you're coming from.
It's not that I don't think he'd be good at it. I just think he's got all the money in the world.
Yeah.
Why would he want to put up the hours?
He's doing all those TV commercials. For
He's going to get frustrated in about a blink of an eye that people don't prepare like he does, and that people can't throw a ball like he can, and people can't see the field like he can. It's like Magic Johnson coaching the Lakers.
Well, there's a famous history of star quarterbacks don't make good head coaches.
For that,
I believe that completely. I mean, except for the Harbaughs, or
they weren't
one of them.
Harbaugh wasn't a star.
But he was a pro quarterback.
Yeah.
I could see it going either way.
I think he's going to be on TV. I don't know about Bradshaw, but he's going to be on TV somewhere.
He's such a competitor.
Shows. That's really the thing.
He's too much of a competitor to retreat to a desk job talking about football. I have a feeling he will find himself on the field again because he's so obsessed. But I can see it going either way.
Playing again? Really?
No, not playing, but coaching. I think he wants that competitive side to his job again.
We'll see,
I wouldn't be surprised. But anyways, we shall see. That probably will play out sometime in the next year because, like I said, I seriously doubt he's going to find himself on the field again after this.
No.
So, good luck to you, Peyton.
I think this is it for him. I think this is his denouement.
But you know
it's
what?
A swan song.
What I mean, it's what we all know the storybooks how they should end. The superstar athlete should always retire after a Super Bowl, and ideally a Super Bowl win in most cases.
At least not a crushing, embarrassing Super Bowl defeat. If he can avoid that, I think he can still go out.
You brought up the Ray Lewis thing. Jerome Bettis is another one.
Okay.
You don't see it nearly enough, and I think we all like to.
Yeah.
A storybook ending.
Yeah. How many? By the way, before we talk about Panthers and Cardinals, which we need to talk about, how many years did Rippon play after he won?
He played until 2001, 2002.
So he played significant time.
He was a backup.
He was with the Saints for a while. He kind of bounced around a little bit.
I had forgotten where all the places he
tore
went
his ACL or something, and
that was it.
Yeah, he became backup after that.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving along the line, then we can talk about what I think was probably the big heartbreaker. I don't know about for you guys, but it certainly was for me. I'm happy for the Panthers, but that was kind of distressing to watch. Such an ugly bloodbath of a game, I thought, happened to the Cardinals.
It was. I didn't like seeing that happen to him.
It's sad. Cam Newton, I understand. They've won the division in the last 3 years. It's great that they're advancing further in the playoffs this year. I'm loving it. I have nothing against Cam. Well, I kind of do personality-wise, but, not a big deal. Hard to watch Carson Palmer just not be able to put anything together.
Yeah.
Really surprising inability for the Cardinals to
Listen,
put
I mean,
stuff together in that game.
Panthers' defense is no joke, man. I mean, they've got a tremendous set of linebackers. They have a tremendous secondary. Carson had a bad game. He got caught up in the heat of the moment. And when things start to go bad, in big games, it really goes bad. How many times have we seen this happen? Not to Carson necessarily, but
million times.
It's the Panthers' time. It's as simple as that. They're rolling. Cam is having an MVP season. He's the heart of the team.
God, yeah.
I know
right.
people. I know his attitude rubs some people the wrong way. But to me, it's just exuberance. If he was on our team, we would love it. And he's not out and getting arrested and anything like that. People don't like the fact that he's cheering for the team and giving footballs away to kids. Think about that for a minute. It's kind of like the Robert Griffin thing. You always find something to pick on. I don't know.
More than that.
You and I disagree on Cam. Sean,
trust me, I don't hate the guy, but it's more than that. It's the tearing down of opposing team flags and the kind of arrogant cockiness and the showboaty celebrations, the claim that Hockley told him he wasn't old enough to get a call, which apparently was proven to be untrue.
I've seen Ed Hockley speak.
And I think Ed Hockley's an asshole. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I want to preface this by that.
I've been in the room with him, and I would not surprise me if he said something crazy like that.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
I'm kind of on Tron's side. I'm one of those people who just thinks you should act like you've been there. Before, and so that's just it's a difference in personality.
Well, see, the thing is,
I think he's an amazing
he's like 26.
Player.
He hasn't been there before, and he's like 26. I think if you fast forward 5 years, it may be different.
He won a national championship. He won the Heisman. He's been a winner his whole life. He's been there before.
Yeah, I know
the Super Bowl's the next level, but he's been there.
I just think that if he was a Redskin and doing this, we'd all be cheering right there with him.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, if he's winning, sure. But if we weren't, then the same thing that would happen is what happened with RG3, which is that
stupid dance.
Which is that RG3 sits there and he does sort of the same things, and people absolutely decimated for him because we were losing. So that's the only deciding factor is the team winning or losing. You have a hell of a lot more patience for people if the team's winning, and that's what's happening in Carolina.
Well, yeah, that's very true. If you're going to win, you can do darn near anything you want.
That's right.
Look at Clinton Porter's costumes.
What was it? Sheriff gonna get you? That you can get away with that if the team is doing pretty well. Sheriff gonna get you is not gonna fly. If you're 2-14, no doubt.
Sheriff ain't gonna get nobody.
And by the way, just to answer the question, but Mark Rippon retired in 2001. He went from Washington, left DC in '93, went to Cleveland, St. Louis, Philadelphia, back to St. Louis, and then to Indianapolis. So that was Mark Rippon.
Should have got on top, buddy.
Brief stint in 2002 with Seattle, but it might have only been preseason.
Not according to Pro Football Reference.
Okay.
And, I mean, don't ever challenge that site. It is all-knowing.
No. It is. I do remember him being available in a game of Madden in 2001, and I saw that, and I was like, wait, he's still around?
He might not have officially dropped his retirement papers yet, perhaps. Oh, 2001. Yeah, 2001 he was with the Colts, so yes.
It was either 2001 or the 2002 game. But still, it was just... It was funny to see somebody who you're like, I thought he's been gone for a decade.
Yeah, that was like straight up 10 years before, basically.
His daughter picked up the quarterback mantle, a few years ago, if you guys remember this. She was a quarterback in the Lingerie Football League, apparently, which I've never seen a game on television for, but...
Oh, you gotta watch, dude.
It's a train wreck.
You gotta watch. Is it still an operation?
I don't think that... They've changed the name a couple times because they tried to stop being, the Hooters of football and become more serious. But yeah, I know his daughter played for the Baltimore team. She and him were trying to get a team in Washington for a while for her to be the quarterback of.
It's called the Legends Football League now.
The Legends Football League?
Okay, it's the Legends now. Yeah.
They went from they wanted to keep LFL.
that.
Yeah. They wanted to keep LFL, but they had to drop the lingerie.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Speaking of dropped.
Yeah, not in that way. Well, let's talk a little bit more about this game, guys, because we've barely talked about it. Cam Newton put up 335 fucking yards.
Jesus.
My man, 335 yards. I think Carson Palmer was at least 100 yards behind that, which is actually surprising because it seemed like for large swaths of the game he was doing absolutely nothing. But Cam Newton had like a 12-yard average. Carson Palmer had like half
If you go
that.
back to college, there were so many people who doubted that Cam Newton would ever become great. There were so many reports that he was a knucklehead. He was stupid.
Sure.
He couldn't play in the pro game. We had that the John Gruden. I forget what the name of that show is. Where he couldn't really call a play. That the fired football coaches association thing that John Gruden does. He had somebody from Walter Football wrote that hit piece on him and said he was not a good guy and all that. It took him a couple years, but you got to give the Carolina Panthers credit for a couple things. They let him grow into being a leader.
Yeah.
They built the offense around him, and they stuck with it. That's what we didn't do in Washington with Robert Griffin. I'm not going to get into too much in the Robert Griffin thing. But
so right,
Carolina, they built the offense about what Cam does best. That's not what we did with Griffin here in D.C., and they stuck with it. And then also they drafted well in defense. They built a monster, defense. Now, Cam does stuff that no quarterback anywhere has ever done. Give him credit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think they had a great formula. But, I mean, first off, building a great defense, that's part of the right formula if your quarterback's Cam Newton.
Oh, absolutely.
Trent
You're right.
Dilfer.
Rex Grossman.
Rex Grossman.
Yeah.
If you build a great defense, you can win with 80% of the quarterbacks in this league who start.
Yeah.
That's something people just need to accept.
I think Steve's hitting on something great, though, which is about consistency. If you think back 6-7 years ago in Carolina when their quarterback was like Jake Delhomme and they couldn't get anything together, they were very Redskins-esque back then. One team has emerged from that, a far better team, and one team is sort of still middling.
Well, hold on.
And they
hold
stuck
on.
with Ron. They stuck with Ron Rivera. Through some years that weren't that good.
That's
They stuck
absolutely
with
true.
Cam Newton. See, does anybody seriously think that if Cam Newton had been drafted by the Redskins, that he'd still be a Redskin?
Probably not. Probably
He'd be
not.
gone. They would have gotten frustrated with him, and he would have been gone.
Well-
But if you look at Carolina's run game, they have a really advanced run game. It's not just give Cam the ball. They run misdirection in the backfield.
Yeah.
They almost kind of run a play action deal, only it's not a pass.
I mean,
they do some. They have a lot of running backs. All of them they can run. It is an advanced thing.
that touchdown by Ginn was a run, and where he ran across the field one way and then cut back across the entire field.
Right.
I mean, that was a crazy
It was
play.
almost it was basically a reverse. Is what it was, and then he made a good play. But my point is, if you watch their run formations, they don't very often. They just run a power eye, or anything like that, and you just let one of those, Stewart or one of those other running backs just, hit the A gap or the B gap. They don't do that a lot, And then you toss in there, you've got a 250-pound monster that runs a 4.5, 4.6 40 that can't be stopped. And by the way, has one of the strongest arms in the NFL. I mean, it's no wonder they're good. And it's hard to people don't. I don't know if everybody realized this before yesterday, but they were the top scoring offense in the league.
Yep.
They're explosive as a running team. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is an amazing offense to look at. And I agree with you. They don't run out of conventional formations, but it seems like very few teams are anymore. I mean, you look at a lot of teams are running out of the shotgun and the pistol. Even guys who don't have a mobile quarterback are doing that these days.
Well, heck, I think didn't the Patriots have a DB on the field for their first offensive play yesterday?
Did they? I didn't
thought
pick
they
up
did.
on that.
That sounds like
Yeah.
Belichick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would do that just to mess with you.
Well,
Yes, he would.
I think you've got to have a lot of stunts like that and some clever plays that you call and some non-traditional stuff, especially if you're facing a defense like Denver's is going to be in this Super Bowl. You're going to have a lot of pressure on your offense to, and early in plays just after the snap. They're going to be coming for you. So you've got to find a way to mitigate that. I think in terms of Carolina's offense versus Denver's defense, that's going to be an interesting matchup to me.
Well,
I think the other
if
way
Robbie
around is
were
not
here-
nearly as interesting.
Yeah, well, I think if Robbie, we got to give some love to the O-line. since we don't
Yeah.
have Robbie here tonight. I think the Carolina offensive line is just worlds apart from the Patriots offensive line. They've been
Big
beat
time.
up all year. They had no answer for Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware, whereas Carolina might have an answer for him, at least be able to slow him down.
Right.
Yeah.
So do we want to do keys for the Super Bowl game? Do we want to talk about that? I mean, we've touched about them a little bit. Do we have any other thoughts about this? This
Well, I do have
Cardinals
one more
game?
thought about Carolina. I have one more thought about the Carolina. I mean, people need to remember that their best wide receiver's been out all year. Kelvin Benjamin has not been there,
Yeah.
and this offense is going to look a lot different next year, and it's going to be a lot more explosive because Kelvin Benjamin is the real deal.
Right.
He's serious. He's big. He's got good hands. He's got, I think he's going to have good chemistry with Cam Newton. They're going to be, it's going to be a world apart. But, I don't know what else can be said about Arizona. They had a bad game. It just cratered from them, from the word go.
Yeah,
and
just from the very
they
beginning.
Yeah. It was not a representative sample of Cardinal football.
No.
Well, and the thing, I was listening to a lot of sports radio since I was stuck inside all day. I was trying to work, but, listening to sports radio while I work. People have been talking about this, but the Cardinals, you have to kind of consider a rebuild at this point just because so many of their star players on offense are getting up there.
Yeah.
They are.
So who knows if they'll be back and looking the same, before too long.
I think you're going to have Carson and Fitz there next year, but I don't know how much longer they're going to be there.
Right. And, I mean, the thing about Fitz is you can almost never count him out because every year people say it's like this will be his last. He comes back and has
it never
freaking
is.
record-setting year the next year. Yeah. But I think it's an interesting contrast between Cardinals and Panthers. One team, I think, is very successful this year and is built for future success. And as we just said, one team is very successful this year but maybe not so much built for future success. So I think we'll be seeing a lot more of the Panthers. I agree. The Cardinals might fall back into the woodwork after this year. Maybe reemerge a couple years later if they can get it going.
Well, the Cardinals seem to have this formula where they find a quarterback who everyone wrote off, who was once very good, and then they revive his career for 2-3 years.
And that's just not a strategy you can depend on long term,
Well, it's a better strategy than ours has been in the past 15.
But the
no
Cardinals
arguments
finally
there.
found a good coach. Bruce
that helps
Arians
too.
is a good coach.
Yeah.
And they went through a string of stinkers. The Cardinals have had bad ownership for decades. The Bidwell family was the pariah of the NFL for a long time. But the old man is gone, or I don't know if he's deceased or not, but he's not running the team anymore.
They don't play in a college football stadium anymore.
Yeah, they don't play in a college football stadium. They're drafting better. They've brought in some good players. So the organization is much better than it was, and they finally found Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians is an old school smash mouth guy. But he's fairly creative, and he understands his players. The players like him. He's doing well. So I think when you have a good coach like that, good things are going to happen, even if they have to replace some of their keys. Stars, they probably will.
Absolutely. Well, shit, guys. Should we preview the Super Bowl game? Should we do predictions, or should we get into around these
another
coaching?
week for the
I think
Super Bowl.
I
Let's
think we
do
need
that
to-
next week.
Yeah, let's save our predictions.
So
Do we have any Redskin news? You want to do that?
Well,
we
we have
a little Redskins news.
we
yeah.
also got to talk about NFL news because there's been some major changes we still haven't talked about on this show. I don't think
Yeah.
at all yet. Especially in terms of coaches around the NFC East. But maybe we can start with coaching hires for the Skins since we are a Skins show. So talk to me about what we know about Mr. Minuski.
Well, thank goodness, he was a solid one of these guys that was a solid grinder player, And here's the thing, Barry is a linebackers coach. Joe Barry was historically a linebackers coach.
Right.
That's right.
When he came in here, he wanted to coach linebackers himself, and much like Jay Gruden last year, I think he realized that
Too
he
much on
can't
your plate.
do everything himself. And since we have a couple young linebackers who need attention, I think he probably realized he needed a dedicated coach. I don't have a clue whether Minuski is going to be, the greatest coach ever, or whether he's going to stink. But I do know having another guy on staff is only going to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And edge rusher is a position that we've consistently targeted and tried to improve, but for some reason we can't seem to get high-level consistent play out of those guys.
It seems like we draft a freaking outside linebacker every year at the top of the draft.
Yeah.
Or every other year.
Right.
Listen, somebody's got to handle Junior Gillette. I'm just assuming he's going to be back for these purposes.
I think
He's
so.
obviously kind of a character in the locker room. He seems to kind of fit in here pretty well. But the Saints ran a talent out of town because they didn't like him, basically. So somebody's going to have a strong personality to guide that, while simultaneously having the skill to develop Preston Smith and whatever Trent Murphy turns into. Who knows?
Well, and I think it's a great combination. If you now have a great coach at that position and you have some veteran players that are really productive and are good guys to look up to, that's a great combination for young guys learning that position. So I'm actually feel pretty confident in that.
And my big thought on the whole hire, Steve, you kind of brought it up. A coach did some self-reflection, said, I should, take this off my plate, and hired someone to help him. And we saw it with Gruden last year. It's something we didn't see ever from Shanahan. He never accepted that he was part of the problem or part of the weakness when he was coaching, it seemed like. He kept on putting it on other people when something went wrong.
Well, you know what? I think, I've been very critical of Jay Gruden, as you all know, but I do give him credit for what you said, Alex, which is changing, and improving. He was a lot better coach this year than he was in 2014. He changed his staff over. But the big difference is, I don't think there's anybody on the planet that has more ego than Mike Shanahan.
Oh, no.
Jay Gruden, for all his faults, does not have a tenth of the ego of Shanahan. I don't think Shanahan would tolerate any dissenting voice other than his son, perhaps.
Even then, there were rumors that when his son was unhappy, he still had to do what his dad said.
Yeah.
Sounds like my relationship with my father.
Well, I think that's most of our relationships with our fathers in this world.
Like it or not, do what they say. Yeah.
Yeah. But I kind of like that we're hiring an ex-Redskin. I know that's stupid homerism, but he played for us in the Gibbs era, so...
Yeah, I actually like it a lot, too. I have no problem with that. It's not the first time we've done that, and I think it's kind of cool. I have no idea if it actually translates to that being a more effective coach.
I don't think it adds one thing to the team.
Probably not. It contributes to maybe the atmosphere, but, other than that, whatever. But I think it's cool. It's great to keep these guys in-house. I like it. And it's nice to see former names. So anyways, let's talk about some other coaching changes, guys, because there has been some pretty funny, if you ask me, some pretty funny hires around the league. And I guess just to start off, I'll say I think the 49ers hiring of Chip Kelly is hilarious. Are you guys as amused by that?
It's going to be a disaster. Oh, it's going to be fun to watch.
There's so many.
It's either going to be a total disaster or he's going to win 10 Super Bowls in a row. One or the other.
Right. It's hell or glory. It's one of the two.
I think he might have some things he's good at as a coach. But, we didn't see him have any eye for talent, and the 49ers right now have no talent. So I don't know how they're going to, build a team there.
Well, exactly, and that's my point that I think is so funny about it. Okay, so guys, think back to this coaching search. The two people that they had on deck competing for the job were Mike Shanahan, right, and Chip Kelly. Those were the two guys that were potentially going to get the job.
You think they could come up with better names than that, for God's sakes.
Well, either way, let's just think about those two options. Okay, you're a team who, over the last few years, you've lost a record number of players to early retirement, regular retirement, injury, or other shit. Okay, so you have a talent problem. So you have two options now. You can go for a guy who, coached recently, and things didn't end well in Washington for Mike Shanahan, but let's be honest, we're still playing with his quarterback, his running back, and his tight end. Jordan Reed, Alfred Morris, and Kirk Cousins were all Shanahan dudes. So
actually, a lot of the offense was.
Exactly. So he is a guy who actually has Alfred Morris, exactly. He at least has a track record with player personnel acquisition and it working out. Instead, what do the 49ers do? They've lost a lot of talent. They hire a guy who ran all the talent out of his last job and proved himself to be incompetent.
There's no more talent to run out of San Francisco.
Yeah,
I guess that's one way to
There's no
look
one
at
else
it.
he can chase away.
I guess that's a good point.
Well, the only good thing about that, I think, is Colin Kaepernick kind of fits the Chip Kelly mold, right? He wants a mobile quarterback with a strong arm.
He doesn't fit the Chip Kelly mold in that he's a star quarterback who, might outshine Chip Kelly.
Yeah, but I think scheme-wise, you're right. You're completely right, Steve. What we know about Chip Kelly is this is a match.
And also, Chipper acknowledged that he does not have full personnel control. We told you guys that, out there in Hogstye land, that if he was going to get another job, he's going to have to give it up, and he did. He
Right.
just gave it up to an organization that has no ability to evaluate talent themselves. But
Right.
hey, like we in Washington know all about that, so I have no sympathy for him.
Right. The other thing I'll just say about it, too, is they have a somewhat overbearing general manager up in San Francisco. A little
say the
surprising
least.
that he would hire Chip Kelly, of all people, to work with him. I mean, that's just going to
Well,
be
I
a shit show.
I think Chip Kelly has been appropriately humbled to a certain extent.
He better
Right.
be, because I think if he hadn't been, then they ain't going to have much patience for that in San Fran. But we shall see.
Well, and Steve,
Yeah.
you were criticizing the candidates they interviewed. Look at the other people who were hired. There weren't a lot of great names out there
There's
this
been some
year. It seems
ridiculous
like.
hires.
I mean, the best is probably Hugh Jackson in Cleveland, right? I mean, would everyone kind of agree he's probably the best candidate
Oh,
that
I
was
think
hired?
so. Yeah.
Though I have no idea why you would take that job. Why would you take
You know
the job
what?
coaching
I heard.
Cleveland?
I heard. I can't remember. It might have been Chris Carter again. I'm always citing Chris Carter on this show, and he basically said that they made Hugh Jackson feel wanted, so he took the opportunity.
And Hugh
know.
Jackson's been waiting for that opportunity for a
He
decade.
has,
It feels like.
a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
He better hope Cleveland doesn't sink his career like they do everybody else.
Yeah, I would hate to see it because he's one of those guys I actually root for a little bit.
Yeah, likable.
Then let's see. I know Miami changed their head coach to some dude.
Well, let's talk first about the Giants. We got to stay in the NFC East.
Okay,
Yes.
you want to start with the NFC East?
Mr. Who's the what's it's? Mr. McAdoo? McAdoo, yeah. Mr. McAdoo.
I think
I
the
love
only
this
thing that
hire.
can be
to
said
say.
about him is that that's who Eli wanted.
Right,
Well,
and that's
great.
all I know.
Listen to your 300-year-old quarterback as to who your head coach should be, because he's going to help you build to the future.
Right. He's got his eyes set on the future,
Hey,
right?
you know what? The Giants have a better track record than us, so
No, that is true.
Laugh it up.
No, that is true.
Yeah.
It just kind of surprised me because he is not, he's not even, I don't think he's even as big a name, quote unquote, as Jay Gruden was in Washington. Like, he's even more obscure than Gruden was, and Gruden, I feel like, kind of came out of the, woodwork. A lot of people didn't really know about him. So that sort of surprises me, but hey, I know really nothing about Mr. McAdoo, so I kind of love the hire because Coughlin's out of here, and I'm ready for that. I've been ready for
Well,
that.
I'll give you a couple things. He's a Pennsylvania boy, 38 years old. He's
Young.
been coach.
Young.
Yeah, young. So young guy, and he's been coaching since high school in '96, and got a shot in the college game in 2001. So he's been an assistant and stuff for about 15 years.
Okay. All right. Well, cool.
I don't know. I mean,
I love his goatee.
None of us know if he's going to be good, not good. Who knows? I think it bodes well that Eli likes him. That's about all I can say about him.
Yeah. Well, he's
Well,
been.
I don't
Eli's known him for
necessarily
what, 2
trust
years?
that.
He's been on the team with them for like 2 years.
I'd have to let me go back to his Wikipedia page, and I'll tell you that.
We don't use Wikipedia. What are you talking about?
I do for these things.
No, you don't. You pull it all out of your brain. We don't
Yeah,
need any
right.
help.
I can pull Redskins crap out of my brain. I can't pull anything about the Giants out of my brain. I
Right.
don't know anything about the Giants. He's been with the Giants since 2014.
Okay, so he had that season and this season basically as the Giants, and then he got tapped for the job. Okay, good for him, man. Awesome. I like I said, I'm frankly happy to see new faces in the coaching positions in the NFC East. It's been a while. I like that the Redskins are now sort of the stability, in a way. So that's great.
That's pretty sad. Number one.
Sad for
But
them.
technically speaking, I suppose Dallas is there's more stability, which is even worse.
Yeah.
with,
I'm glad to see Coughlin go, and that we're trading a proven coach for a non-proven coach. Glad
Yeah.
to see that.
And you're seeing that in Philly too, in a lot of ways.
Yes.
We were ripping on Chip Kelly, but he had a winning record at least. So
Yeah.
can't
I know
say-
even less about Philly's coach than I do about McAdoo.
Yeah, so let's talk about Peterson. What do we know about Peterson? That obviously is a more meaningful, I think, hire than McAdoo was. I shouldn't say
Well-
meaningful, but it's more known to me. I at least am partially aware of Doug Peterson.
yeah, he's been with Andy Reid forever. It seems like, right?
Yeah, which is weird. It's like they want to get away from Andy Reid and then they hire like his underling. Weird. Weird.
I think.
Well, they're going to
I think
rebuild, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the whole team needs to be rebuilt. It's going to be ground up. They don't have a quarterback. They gave away their talent at wide receiver. They arguably had a racial problem, on the team led by Chip Kelly. They're going to have to burn it down and start over completely, I think.
They traded in one of the better dual threat running backs of all time for a linebacker.
A guy who's not. Yeah.
I mean, look, I value
it's a
good
disaster
defense, but yeah.
It's a disaster. I think the Eagles are going to be the bargain basement of the NFC East for a couple years.
And the big thing that came out of all those interviews is there were stories that, Lurie was talking to coaches and they were just turning him down because he's apparently not well liked among a big NFL circle of head coaches.
It's like an old spinster circle, this group of NFL coaches.
Well,
they're all in group text gossiping about each other all the time.
Well, and I think that does happen. I think that we heard that when the Redskins were looking for a coach, that people were telling other guys, "Hey, don't go there because you don't want to work for Dan Snyder."
Right. Though everybody and their mother should know that by now.
Yeah. Well, and Marvin Lewis, I think, said if Jay Gruden had asked his opinion first, he would have told him not to go here. So.
Right. Makes sense.
Apparently, that's what the Eagles are now.
Hey, I love it. I'm down. It's time for another lowly era of the Philadelphia Eagles to begin.
Yeah.
Amen, brother. I'm all ready for it.
When was the last good chunk of them sucking? 70s?
Yeah, I mean, prior to... Yeah, God, you got to think.
Before pre-Randall Cunningham. Randall Cunningham.
I'm with you.
Yeah, pre-Cunningham was when they stunk last. It was in between the time Dick Vermeil retired and when Cunningham showed up. That was when.
Yeah. Okay, so that would have been the 80s, I guess.
Yeah. See, the team's never been able to really win.
But they weren't really. They were never terrible though.
Right.
In all those years.
No.
We've had many more stinky. We've had many more stinky years than the Eagles have had.
In that time, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there have been various other moves that happen around the league. Like you said, we have a new coach in Miami. Gase, I believe is his name, right? So he'll be replacing Philbin in Miami. There's been some other moves. We got to probably talk about that next episode because
Dirk Cotter in Tampa. Yeah, we'll talk about them.
We
have a whole off season.
Yeah, we barraged you guys with enough information for tonight, but we will pick that conversation up next time. And what an exciting one it will be because we have a full week off to talk about the Super Bowl. Unless you guys want to do a Hogstye live reaction to the Pro Bowl.
I refuse to watch the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, Steve, are you going to live tweet the Pro Bowl?
No, we're not. I'm not breaking down the stats for the Pro Bowl. We're not doing any of that. Yeah. So if you watch the Pro Bowl if you want, there probably won't be any Redskins in it.
I'd rather
there's
go
an
off
off chance
manually
I think that Kirk Cousins may
reinflate the
be
Redskins bubble.
I think there's an off chance that Cousins may be in the Pro Bowl just because they've gotten down to they're scraping bottom of the barrel at this point to get enough quarterbacks. So watch for that.
Hey man, good for him if he does.
I think Phillip Rivers turned it down the last thing I saw. So, they get down far enough, they'll go to Kirk. He was upper middle of the pack, kind of at the end of it all. So
he was towards the bottom of the top 10, I'd say.
He won Best Improved Player of the NFC, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh.
He won Best Catchphrase.
All right, well, shit. Everybody at home, you have a week off, obviously, between games that are important, but we are not going anywhere. So stick around, listen to the show next week. We will be talking about the Super Bowl and finishing this conversation about shit going on around the league. So, yeah, stick with us. We'll have a lot of fun. Good times. Hopefully, this snow will melt, right, Alex?
Yeah. Stay warm, everybody.
Yeah, stay warm, stay dry.
Go and by the way, hot chick or hot dude if that's your way you go.
That's your thing. Go for it.
We probably have females listen. Yeah, we have females listen to this podcast, Alex.
Yeah, we have females. We have gays. We have everybody. So find whatever you like and cuddle up with them.
That's right.
And by the way, the Redskins bubble deflated this, as a result of the snow.
Yeah.
So hopefully they get it reinflated at some point.
Yeah. Hopefully they just burn down Ashburn and move to a better facility altogether.
Hey.
Or that too.
Yeah. Amen.
All right.
Well, we will see you guys next week. Check back in with us. See you next time.
Bye.